which came out about a year ago. It has not been a year yet, but about a year ago. So that game was supposed to be the biggest one, and everyone was so expecting so much. And the game company was doing the marketing so aggressively, so everyone knew about the game. But when it actually hit the game stores, every single person who bought the game was disappointed. That was that was actually not the biggest game, but it was the biggest disappointment in game industry. If you do follow the game industry, you probably know what I'm talking about. So what the problem was, the game was not what was advertised. That was the biggest one. So, but the but it had too many bugs. So if you don't know if you don't follow the games, you probably don't really know why this is a big problem. But if there are too many bugs or glitches, it's impossible to play the game properly. It often just stops you from the playing from playing, or it kind of makes it weird for you to play the game. Like the clothes kind of like your character's clothes kind of disappear, something like that, and then it stops you from progressing the story, and the the game sounds weird, and there are just too many problems. That's where the problem is. So the thing is, the games producer company was CDPR. CDPR did not run QA properly. That's the thing. That's what I do, and that's why this is important. So before Cyberpunk 2077, QA teams often be disregarded, because what we do is very time consuming and very money consuming too. So people really don't like us. Like when a game company has a layoff, QA teams are usually the first to go. But after CDPR, people kind of realize, yeah, we have to assure the quality before releasing, because people will get disappointed and they will not buy our games anymore. So that's where this is coming from. With no quality check and testing, there could be possibilities of unwanted bugs or difficulty in playing the game. This is very logical if you are thinking outside the box. Like if you're thinking about this kind of objectively, sorry. If you are thinking about this objectively, it is very logical and very reasonable that this is not really worth mentioning, but it's not. If you are in the developer game side, people will very much disregard this importance of the QA. So what QA in gaming company or gaming company is as follows. So what we do is we find inconsistency, glitches, or bugs in the software or game experience. Like I said, we find bugs and glitches, or something like I said, like if you are playing on Switch and it says like press triangle button, that's wrong, because Switch does not have a triangle button. If you are not into game, this will sound very confusing, but in PlayStation you have circle, square, cross, and triangle buttons, but in Switch you have A, B, and X, Y. So if you are playing on Switch and it says you have to press a circle button, that's wrong. That's against the law of, or well, against the regulation, not the law, against the regulation of the Nintendo, and that will cause us a big problem. So that's what I do. So I have to check every single regulations are met and there are no glitches or bugs, or at least bugs that we have to assure that there are no bugs that stops players from playing. Right. So this involves documenting, reproducing, and reviewing those inconsistencies until they are deemed okay to ship. This hits very close to my heart, because I was doing this like yesterday. So if you are playing the game as a tester, you will inevitably find glitches or bugs or inconsistencies in the game. So you find the bug, and then you have to reproduce it several times so that uh, this is not just one-time thing, right? It has to recur, so to be reported to the developer. So after you reproduce it several times, you usually do it 3 times, and when you do it 3 times, you deem this as a glitches. So when you find this glitch and you have reproduced it several times, you make a document, a very planned, or how should I say, very specific templated document, and then you submit those to the developer, and the developer come back to that document, and then they fix it, and then we have to go back to that document and then reproduce it again so that the glitch does not happen again. This is the process what we follow every day, but not every bugs are fixed in one go. So we have to do this like very many times. There was one bug I had to fix for the game I'm currently working on, and we have been revisiting this bug for like 20 times. It's still, so yeah, this is very time consuming and very tiring kind of experience. Yep. So because this is very time consuming, me a lot of people, I am not a tester. So I'm a LQA manager. So I'm the one managing the whole process. I'm not a tester. I should have about 10 to 30 testers for a game. It depends on the scale of the game, but for the game I'm currently working on, we have usually 10 to 20 people testing only. So the testing part is often outsourced to QA specialized companies. There are companies that are specialized only in QA. So like they usually translation and then QA together, or they just do QA. So that leads us to the last part of this slide. So that there are there are many types of QA. So FQA is these people make sure that the game functions as it should. So like if I press right, do I go to the right? Something like that, but in a very specific. And LQA is what I do. QA is I am in charge of everything that is related to the language. So it's not just what the characters say or what the story is saying, but when you have very little word on screen, every single word is supposed to be reviewed by me or by our team, right? So that's LQA. And systematic SQA is the systematic QA. This is the most how should I say, controversial kind of way, because what SQA it does is a bit similar to FQA. So sometimes people just don't have SQA, I think. Right now we do have SQA, so we want to make sure that the game system is working in a way that it should. So what people do in FQA, LQA, SQA are not that how should I say, compartmentalized. So sometimes I find a bug in function wise part of the game, so that's not specifically compartmentalized. So yeah, I already have experience. I explained a bit about the LQA. So I find bugs. Although I said there are other people like this, so the testers who are finding bugs, that's specifically their job. So they do find the bugs, but sometimes I just happen to find a bug. So if I do find a bug, I submit that document I mentioned to the developer and so on. And this is the most it's not complex. It's very simple process, but it still is very difficult process, which is scheduling. So I, as a QA manager, I have to make a schedule in a way that testers will be able to find all the bugs and the developers will have the enough time to fix all the bugs. And then the testers will check those bugs if they are fixed. And then the game has to be delivered, and then it has to be packaged in a way. There are several things that I have to worry about before making the schedule. So basically, in our company, for the games I am in charge of, I set the release date. So I'm the person who goes, yep, this game will be released on October 23rd. But that usually changes a lot. If you are a gamer, you'll probably know that there are a lot of games, specifically these last 2 years, that has been delayed. So these days, scheduling is a bit versatile, right? So as a bilingual, well, I'm a trilingual actually. I am trained translator and interpreter, so I do translation and check linguistic requirements like I explained before. So QA, when you do QA, there are a lot of skills that are required from you. So if you do have like specific skill that you can promote, then you will be the QA manager. But if you're not, you probably have to start from QA tester, right? So yeah, that's how it goes. And this, I'm going to talk about three cases, three projects that I was either A, in charge of, or B, or just a part of, or C, just peripheral to, not necessarily in that order, because I can really, I don't think I can give you all the details about each game. So I'm just going to leave it vague. When I say I was peripheral to, I was not really in the game QA team, but I helped outside the game project because I also work as a translator / interpreter. So this was case A, quality not assured. So there was this game that was already released. It's in the market right now. And that game got really, really negative reviews. So this was when this was for a bit. No, this was about 2 years ago, and this was my first job, I think. First game I was actually what? How can I say? So I have something related to the game. So, but when I got into the project, the translation was just bad. It was probably machine translated. So when you do machine translation, it's still not as good as human translation right now. So, so the translation was so bad. So I had to just dive in to change all the translation to make sure that it actually sounds a little bit natural than how it was before. And then check the bugs and glitches and the game itself. We didn't really realize that the game was not so fun. So the developers were really bad. I mean, they're really badly busy. I'm not saying they were bad, but they were just too busy fixing bugs and giving me the text to translate and all that. So the quality was not assured. Like you can be safely say that these people did not have enough time or money to fix all the bugs or make sure the game itself is actually fun to play. So it was just too much work, and QA was not in part of the game developing process until too late. So the quality was not assured. So the game kind of bombed really bad. Yeah, that was a past project. So yeah, everyone's a bit sad about that game. And that was my first project, so I was really sad. But then we we had to kind of pick up ourselves because we had other projects. So yeah, that was it. And so like I said about like what I talked about the game Cyberpunk 2077, the QA did not really do their job, or they couldn't do their job because of the developing process or schedule. Then the users or the consumers can sense that this is not the way it should be. The consumers are really how can I say, to detect the quality of the game, so they will know right away that this game is not good. And when they say this game is not good, this game is not good. So yeah, that was very sad and busy project with a lot of work, which did not turn out well. Yeah, that was the first one I worked on, and this is another project I had experience too. So there were so many shareholders of this game. There's only one game, but there were developers and publisher and another publisher, and then there was IP holder. IP is like intellectual property. So if you have an IP rights to a product, you will have a say in the whole developing process, even if you do not know anything about the game. So there were just too many things, or too many trials we had to go through. And again, it's always going back to the time and money problem. So if you a lot of money, the game will fail, or at least the QA part will not be assured. This is not just the QA game industry. So like I said, if you're into cosmetic industry, you will have this kind of problem if you do not have enough money and enough time, but too many people with opinions, it will not help the process. So it's always best to have like enough people, but not too many people. But it's not always, it's not something you can control, right? So if you have a company and another company and then another company and a lot of people working on one game, you really have to make sure that you have a planned process that you can follow. If you don't, that's not going to be pleasant journey. And so like in this project, I had something I had to deliver to that game, but I had to submit that file to a publisher, and then that publisher will submit that file to another publisher, and then that publisher will send that to the developer, and then the developer also will be able to contact me through those two publishers. And that was just a hell of an experience because that was too time consuming, and it was just not efficient. And if we had only one direct liaison, we could have reduced the time, which would have solved a lot of other issues with the game. But yeah, that didn't work out. That was bad. Yeah. But then, unless I mean, only if you do have the planned process or something of like system that you can utilize very well. Having a lot of companies is not always a bad idea. Like that will also assure the diversity of the ideas. So sometimes it's good, but in this case, it wasn't. Yeah. And this was the last minute QA. So this was the project where there were a lot of cultural sensitivity was hanging on. I cannot really say which part of culture, because then you'll probably know which game it was. But you could say there were, okay, I'm just going to make a fake scenario. This is not what the game was about. But let's say if there was a race insensitivity in that game. So as an Asian country manager, I would say you should not have this kind of insult to the people, because our consumers will not react positively to this remark. So we have been telling that to that developer for 2 years, and like, I'm not kidding, but this part is fact. So we have been telling that the developer for years, and then right before the release, we were testing the game, and then we found that racial insult in that game. So that means the game developers QA team did not do their job, or they did the job but they ignored our request. But in this case, we were the client, so they should have listened to us and make sure that our requirements were met. That's their job. So either way, the QA team did not do the job, and that was 3 days before the release. So everyone who had PC or PlayStation kind of dived into salvage what we could. So that was hectic, and that was not good experience. So this KC was a very cautionary tale, because in this climate of industry, if you do have culture insensitivity related to the game, this is going to be a really big problem. People will not like the game, but people will also not like the company as a whole, because they will deem the company as, you guys are insensitive. And this is something that people's even lives are depending on, and you should not condone this kind of behaviors. And this is what I meant about like branding is also depending on QA sometimes, not always, but because the QA team should have caught that culture and sensitivity related problem during the developing process, but they didn't. So this was really this could have been a really bad experience, but then we were able to fix it before release, 3 days before release, which should not happen in gaming industry. If you have release on, I don't know, October 23rd, your game should be ready to go about 2 months ago. So this kind of 3 days, 3-day QA should not happen. So yeah, that was it. And that was the experience I had in the games. So I want to tell you if there was any good experience project I had, but so far, no. I don't have any well lubricated QA process so far. And I have been in this industry for about 2 years now. And no, QA part is always very complex and not pleasant, because what we do is fixing problems, right? So fixing problems cannot be really pleasant. Like one of my colleagues told me that we are some kind of plumber in game industry. So plumbers are very essential. You cannot live without plumbers. But what they do is very not, how should I say? It's not pleasant, right? It's not clean. It's not pleasant. And what they do is fixing problems, right? So that's one of my colleagues told me that we are kind of like plumbers of the gaming industry, and I was like, yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah. So I think I already have talked about the branding part of the QA and QC, because if you kind of mess up QA and QC part, your brand also has a bit how should I say, risk of being tarnished, right? So if you have racial insult in the game, people of colors, I do not like the word, but people of colors will not like your brand as a whole, because this is very sensitive problem. So people will expect less from the brand if your QA team cannot deliver the cultural sensitive deliverables, right? So yeah, consumers, like I just said, consumers will form their opinion of a brand based on their experience with the product, and the QA and QC people are the last door to the product, so they will only be able to how can I say, safely help the brand form their name safely only if the QA and QC team does do their job well with enough time and enough money. Yeah, that's the thing. So I think I have spoke too fast. I do. I often do. So if you have any questions, I will be able to answer your questions. If you don't have any questions, I have finished the lecture too quickly, and I'm sorry about that. So I can speak a bit more about the project I worked on. So,
Thank you,
yeah,
MJ. Actually,
if
we
you,
have some questions lining up.
that's great.
Yep. Sorry, just 1 second. Can we? Okay, good. So I would like to welcome some of the lecturer from UPN who are just joining with us. We have Miss Sifa. Actually, Miss Sifa, one of her passion is on gamification as well, MJ. So maybe Miss Sifa probably would ask some question. Please feel free. And we have Bu Ade dan Bu Heidi juga ya join dengan kita. Okay, so to the question and answer session, we have some question here in Bahasa Indonesia, so I will translate for you.
Thank you.
So the first question from Ridwan. Ridwan bisa raise hand supaya kita bisa lihat Ridwan di layar dengan mudah ya. Ridwan? Okay. Okay, so we have Ridwan here. So Ridwan is asking, how is your opinion about the gamers who play on the game, but then they actually sell something while they're playing a game? Like, is that predicted from the game company, and how is the quality control, or maybe on your part handling it, or maybe you're handling it by not handling it? So I think it's interesting question. So yeah, MJ, maybe you can share your experience on that.
Yeah, this is a really good question, because we talk about this in our company like every day, and in that case, we can we kind of like give up controlling quality of that product. I mean, at least for that person, right? Because there's not something we can do for them anymore. So we always just want gamers not to do that, right? That in terms of our sales, we want to sell as many games as possible, but it's not something we can like. You should not do it, right? That's not right, because it's on their rights to sell, or I don't know, like dismantle the game. Well, you cannot dismantle the game. That's against the law. But if you sell the game, that's not something we can stop or like tell them not to do. It's just not right, and it's not against the law, so we cannot stop them, and it's not like we have like grudges against them. We don't. But we want to sell as many games as possible, so we would want to like, I don't know. I don't want you to do it, but if you do it, it's not something I can tell you not to do it. But so in terms of our opinion as a game company, we don't hold grudges, but we would appreciate if you not do it. That's the line, I think. Like if we would appreciate if you not do it, but it's not something we can stop them or anything. So in terms of quality control, in that case, that person has gave up on their right to the product by selling it, right? So that's not something we can really do anything. So it's their responsibility, like only in terms of quality. So because we won't be able to control or assure any quality after they have foregone their right to the product. So in that case, we won't be. It's not like we don't want to do it. It's just we are not possible. It's not in our capability to help them reach better quality of the product, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, thank you, MJ. I will maybe translate it a bit for Ridwan because he was asking in bahasa. Jadi untuk Ridwan dan teman-teman ya, memang itu sesuatu yang sering sekali dibicarakan di kantornya MJ dan juga di teman kerjanya ya, di lingkungan teman kerjanya, fenomena mengenai para player yang menjual belikan item di dalam game itu, dan itu sesuatu yang sudah dibicarakan tapi memang tidak bisa terlalu diotak-atik ya, kalau dari segi quality assurance-nya, karena dari segi hukumnya pun juga tidak ada yang melandasi, dan juga dari pihak perusahaan hanya bisa mengalert ya, hanya bisa memberitahukan untuk tidak melakukan hal tersebut. Seperti itu, Ridwan. Okay, I will share. So we have two people, Yusro and Dafa, wanted to open mic to ask you directly, but I will just ask one question first from the comment in bahasa. I will translate it for you. So the question is from Robi Immanuel. Robi, can you raise hand? Robi bisa angkat tangan supaya kita bisa lihat Robi ada di mana. Raise hand.
Maaf Mas, ini laptop saya nggak tahu rasanya di mana.
Oh okay, it's okay. I will translate from Robi. Is it possible for developer like Sega allowing the players to be part of the quality assurance, just like the indie games that is actually happening right now, where the publisher of indie games letting the players to be one of the quality assurance team?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And now I was watching all these related issues about other games that are inviting other players for the QA. I was so angry about it. But I don't think Sega will be doing it, at least in a very short time. Because I'm not sure if I should say this, but because Sega is a Japanese game company, it's not very it's a bit conservative for a game company, right? As it's still a game company, so it's very open-minded, but it's in terms of like logic and system, Sega is quite conservative about holding their own system. So, and they want to have control over the information about the game. So it's not like we don't want to do it, we want to do it. But because there are usually Sega games have a lot of companies writing on one game. So it's legally impossible for us to open the game to the players for beta testing. Sometimes we do have all the rights to ourselves to open the beta, but like I said, Sega is a bit conservative in terms of system only, like system only. They want to keep their system, so they don't want to open too much to the players, and they want to have that like element of surprise when we actually release the game to the players. So we usually, I don't think we'll be doing it in a like short future. I mean, close future. But we might be, because it's not something we are negative about. Like the idea itself, we are not negative about it. But I'm not sure if it's being discussed or not. Yeah, I think that's all I can say, because there are a lot of games I have no ideas about. I'm only knowledgeable about the games I'm in charge of. So yeah.
Okay, thank you MJ. I will translate a bit from your answer. Jadi untuk Robi dan teman-teman ya, memang banyak sekarang dan MJ pun mengikuti ya mengenai budaya bagaimana game publisher yang sifatnya itu indie mengizinkan playernya menjadi tim quality assurance. Tapi kalau di Sega sendiri mereka punya company culture yang berbeda ya, dan cukup konservatif ya teman-teman. Jadi sistemnya itu memang dibuat sudah ada SOP-nya lah. Jadi mereka untuk saat ini belum membuka untuk playernya menjadi quality assurance, tapi itu bukan sesuatu yang Sega negatif ya. Hanya saja memang sistemnya saat ini belum mendukung untuk ke sana. Seperti itu, Robi dan teman-teman. Okay, so I will hand over to the students who wants to have direct conversation with you. So we have Naura Yusro. You can ask your question directly, Yusro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pete. Hello, Ms. NJ. Thank you so much for sharing your stories about those curious things. What I'm really curious is this QA, I kind of related to, because I'm in a QC department on my organization. So it's kind of hard thing to fix problems. I really agree with that. So my question is, like, when it comes at work, do you have any very subjective standards at purely is like they were having standards by your company? So you have like these delays must be like 2 seconds or like 1 second, and then they will like mess up with that. Do you have any of those kind of a very subjective standards that you are applied to them, or some kind of like that? So that's my first question. And then my second question is there any kind of funnels in a way of converting QA's KPI? Like when it comes to sales, they were converted to ROI. And then I'm really curious about this QA department. That's my question. Thank you so much, Ms. Andy.
Yep, thank you. And that's a good those are good questions. So, but if I have misunderstood your question, please just let me know. So for the first question, in terms of subject standard of the quality, this is really bad. I mean, in terms of I like my job, because like I just mentioned, Sega is a bit conservative in terms of system, right? So when it comes to QA, they really want to have very objective, systematic standards for the quality. We actually had that meeting a few weeks ago. That's really difficult. So we have been having these meetings several times over the few months actually, to set up a standard for quality, which can also only be subjective. Like in terms of the like I talked about the case A, although that game had a lot of problems, the game itself was not fun. But fun is a very subjective concept, right? You cannot measure fun. So the people who are how should I say, who are in charge of the game, the whole project, they asked us if the game was fun or not, and the only thing we could say was it was just okay. It was playable, and it was not like it was very rude to say this is not fun, this is a bad game, right? So we sometimes have to have specific standard of saying things too. So we have to say that this game is not fun because it does not reach the objective that I wanted to reach. This is not a game I worked on. So like there's a game, a Yakuza, like a dragon. So if you are playing a game of Yakuza, you really want to have action, right? So if the game does not have enough action, we will be able to say that this game does not have enough action as we expected. So we would appreciate if you add more action sequence or something like that. But this is more than developer job than QA. So because QA is a very systematic work, we will appreciate also, and we usually don't do this. So we would appreciate if they have all the subjective qualities related things before it reaches QA. But if they do reach QA without those problems solved or fixed, there are not much we can really do. That's why the case A game did not really did not really go as we expected. So basically, to sum up, in terms of QA process, we don't want any subject standards to fit into QA process. We don't want that. So, but if they do reach, we will have to make a standard systematic way of reporting that to the developers, because we don't want to be rude. That's the thing. We don't want to be rude. We don't want to be saying like this game is not fun. We don't want to do it. And this game is not artistically beautiful. We don't want to say it, but we want to say it in a way that this is what we expect. We want to have this kind of sequences or this kind of art so that the game is better represented or the game meets the requirements. That would be our way of saying it. Yeah. I'm not sure if that answers your question. And if I don't, just let me know. And for the question 2, this is related to the first one, I think. And yeah, there is no way of measuring how QA actually went, except for the cases like Cyberpunk 2077, because that was really bad and everyone knew that was not that well done, right? Other than that, like mediocre games, you don't have a way of measuring how QA went. So what we do is we have marketing team people. That's not QA's job. So marketing team people will or promotion teams, promotion or marketing teams will check users' opinions about the game. We check all the game forums. Like if you have any game forums, game companies will know. They will check all the game forums, and basically in terms of QA measuring, what we do is the PR team and the marketing team will check the users' reaction to the game, and if it had anything related to QA, like bugs, glitches, or translation, or something that does not meet the regulation, not the subjective in terms of subjective quality thing, but like regulation in terms of this does not fit the monitor or something like that, right? Or this is a bit too laggy, or this game crashes, something like that. And we will be reported about those by marketing team or PR team so that these do not happen again. That'll be it. Did I answer your question correctly? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Miss MJ. Those answers are not what I'm looking for. Thank you so much for sharing.
All right.
Have a great day.
All right,
Back to
thank
Miss
you.
Akif.
Thank you, Yusro. So we have the next question from Joshua. Joshua, do you want to open mic, or should I read the question?
That's okay if you want to do both.
No, Joshua, please raise hand so we can have you in the front of the. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. You can ask your question.
My question is quite similar since you explain a lot of things, but I just gonna still ask it. My question is, how do you control any problem in game since there is so many games produced by the game company? And also, I want to ask, is it even possible to recognize every bugs existed, even if you're not a game developer?
Yeah, I like the second question so much. Can I answer the second question first? Okay.
Yeah, I also type it if you misinterpreted. That's all. You.
Yeah. I mean, like the second question is just so good. I like the question. When you are not the developer, right? Yeah, but the short answer, no, it's impossible. It's impossible in a way because sometimes the players will not have the same systematic requirements met. If you're a gamer, you'll probably know what I meant, but just for the sake of explanation, I'll explain. So if you have a very good, expensive PC, you'll be able to play games without a lot of problems, right? But if you have a very old PC, you'll probably have a lot of problems. The game itself will be slower and not have a very good graphic quality. So that's something we cannot really expect pre-release. We do try to meet all that kind of problems solved before release, because we do kind of expect that people will not be able to have like the top notch. We expect that. That's why we try to not have a memory leak or performance issues, and that's actually that's usually one of the issues that prolongs the whole process. It's usually the bad factor in terms of like lagging the whole process. So we do try that, but it's impossible for us to detect all the bugs, or in terms of other products, it's impossible for us to all the defects that this product may or may not have. This is impossible. But that's why we need like a lot of time. Like is the shortest time it's the shortest time we can expect. Like we need more than 3 months for one game. Like if it's not a big game, we will need more time because it's impossible for us to detect all the bugs or glitches or defects in the game. We will need a lot of time just playing the game over and over and over and over, so that we cover as much as possible we can do. That's so short answer, no, we won't be able to detect all the bugs or glitches or inconsistencies in the game, but we try our best. And so that we can try our best, we need a lot of time and a lot of money too, because we want to outsource the testing to companies. Yep. And sorry, I like the second question so much. I forgot the first one. Fanny, can you help me with the first question?
Joshua, can you repeat your first question?
I'm asking, how do you control any problem in game? I mean, since there is so many games produced by the game company. I mean, your company must be produce every games every year, right? And what if you don't know the game? How do you know if it is a problem or not?
Oh yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah. So the best thing is for QA is to let them actually use it. You probably would think this is such a simple answer, but a lot of developers will not let your QA team to actually play it enough in terms of game are in other industry, you probably, I don't really know how they work. There are a lot of game companies that do not really let the games to familiarize themselves with the game, so they know this is a problem or not, right? But sometimes they just don't let them let them play the game enough, or sometimes they just don't have the QA team. In that case, that's their problem. That's on them. But to detect if something is problem or not, the best thing is just ask the developers. That's what we do. We do this like daily. Like, we think this is a bug. Do you intend to do it? And we have that whole document asking that kind of quite a problem. So we ask them, like, is we have witnessed or we have faced this kind of problem, and we think this stops our experience being I don't know, most fun, right? But and then the developers will answer, this is by design. When they say this is by design, we just don't we just don't dive into it, and we just let it be. But sometimes they just know that this is a bug, and they're like, oh yeah, this is not by design, this is a bug, and this is happening on this platform, and we will solve it. So the best way, just ask the developers. Yeah.
Thanks. That's a brief explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. The next one we have Robbie. Robbie, you can unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you, Mas Oktiv. Hello, good afternoon, Miss Minji. As you know, Cyberpunk is a big disappointment for the gaming community, but now the game is receiving some regular updates and patches. And as I've seen before, now you can refund the game. Is that a thing that decided by quality assurance team or something else?
Okay. Yeah. I have talked really bad about that game, Cyberpunk 2077, but because I talked badly about that game because I previously, but I heard that game itself is really playable and not too all the QA after release, right? They and to be better with patches and all. So in terms of patches, that's what we do too. So when they make patches, we have to run. We say we run the QA. We run the QA for every patches so that it meets the requirement. It does not have any more bugs that was unwanted. So back to the Cyberpunk. Because the game itself is a bit better, I actually did look into the game a bit, and then you were able to. I mean, it was in the first week, I think, the first or second week, right? You were able to get refund for the game even if you play the game. That's not QA's job. That's marketing and project manager's job. QAs will not have any right to give money back to the players, because our is not entail any money related any sales related work. So that's not something we can decide, but we can always report to the people who decide this kind of things. Like we really think we should run more QA even if it's released. So while we run QA, the players will not be able to play the game properly. So we would suggest to refund, something like that. We can report, but that's not something we can decide. That's out of our job. I don't know, job description. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Miss Minji.
Thank you, Robbie. MJ, we have one question from a woman. Finally, after we have so many guys asking you.
It's a game, I understand. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
So one interesting question coming from Putri. Putri, maybe you can raise a hand so that we can see you in the front screen. Okay, so Putri is asking about, so you mentioned on your presentation that when a bug happened after the game is released, there are some precautions or like something that the game publisher do to kind of help make the game to have better quality. But when it affects the company, like you mentioned before, like if the bug is about cultural sensitivity, then it would affect the company. So the question is that how is the company handling that kind of part when it affects the company and not just the product or the game?
Okay, I understand. It depends on the company. Like you guys probably know better than I do, but all the companies have their own culture and kind of atmosphere or their way of solving problems. So it depends on how the company deems the problem. So I cannot really talk about Sega because this may be I may be legally bound to talk about like very tiny details of that kind of problems in Sega. But there was a lot of I'm talking about other my friends' experience. So in one company, they outright just say this was our fault, right? They will just say that this was our fault and we should have expected this kind of problem to be hurting other people's emotions. This may be detrimental to the cultural development. But there are other companies that say nothing. They just let it be. Like there are a lot of but players won't really know if the company didn't say anything or not, because to decide, right? So they're in that case, that's their strategy of kind of like killing the vibe of people getting angry. Like they'll say nothing and do nothing, and they'll just wait for people to be calm. That's also a very good strategy actually in gaming companies, in gaming industry, because players are usually very excited when it first comes out. But when the consumers don't see any improvement of their experience, they'll just give up on that game. So the game company will not have to apologize or do anything to assure the quality back to the consumer. So this is also a strategy. Climate, it's better. This is actually this whole my opinion about Sega, but it's usually better for the companies to just outright say this is a problem and we will fix it, and basically that's it. Like this is our business and we understand you're being uncomfortable with it. We'll probably fix it. We will fix it to our best effort. In that case, then we dive in, like QA teams there dive in to help the developers will to detect where the problems are and where the problems occur, in which something like in that case we dive in to help them. But if you are that kind of like type B, like just B, we will still have to dive in, because even if they say nothing, usually they will do something, but they just don't talk about it, so that people don't have anything to raise the awareness of the problem. So yeah.
Okay, I will translate a bit from your answer. Jadi Putri dan
Sorry for
teman-teman ya.
long answer.
No, I will just give the key answer from you. Jadi Putri dan teman-teman ya, satu hal menarik yang tadi MJ ceritakan itu adalah ketika apa tadi bugs dari game itu mempengaruhi perusahaan ya, teman-teman ya. Salah satu strategi yang bisa diambil adalah perusahaan itu menghandle problem tersebut dengan tidak menghandle problem tersebut. Jadi ini salah satu hal yang menarik ya teman-teman ya. Termasuk strategi ketika kita tidak melakukan sesuatu itu sebenarnya sama saja dengan kita melakukan sesuatu. Dan satu hal lagi yang tadi MJ tegaskan adalah perusahaan tidak terlalu menyulut api ya teman-teman ya. Jadi ketika ada bugs yang mempengaruhi citra perusahaan, mereka akan mengambil tindakan lebih ke arah acknowledge bahwa oke, memang ada permasalahan ini dan akan segera diselesaikan. Jadi tidak mengeluarkan statement yang justru memicu permasalahan lebih ya. Actually MJ, so earlier this morning I was watching Marvel movie. I think it was Endgame. I don't know if you follow Marvel. I don't know if the students here also watching Marvel. Yeah. So I was telling the students in Bahasa that one of the strategy of that you were mentioning is that the company actually handling it by not handling it, and it's something that I actually watched earlier on Marvel movies. I was like, okay, so it actually, like in real life, in company and in practical company world, it's actually something that people do to kind of help the company image. Okay, just let me check 1 second if we still have question. Oke, teman-teman ada yang mau bertanya secara langsung menggunakan mic? Wait, let me see. Aulia mungkin? Bu Hedi? Eko atau Bu Ade Arfi? Ada yang mau ditanyakan? Miss Rina? Widya? Agininda? Febri mungkin mau bertanya juga. Sorry MJ, I'm just gonna mentioning the name of the students so that they feel like they are obligated to ask question. But I'm very excited for today because so many people asking questions for you as well. Miss Rina mungkin ada pertanyaan? Senyum-senyum aja nih Serina. Oke. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. So we have one question sent to me on the Zoom chat. Wait 1 second. Okay. So it's from Damar. Damar Jelang. Damar Jelang masih ada? Okay, we have from Damar. So MJ, the question is, I think this might be something that you have. Maybe this might be something that you have explained on your presentation as well. So Damar is asking. So he has actually tried so many variety of games, and that he also find out that there are so many ways of keeping the quality assurance. But is there any particular method that Sega is implementing to keep the quality assurance for the games that they are producing?
Okay, this is a very good question, but I'm not sure if I can talk about in details about how we work, because it differs from each team. So I'm in Western game localization and also Japanese, but there are like Japanese, Korean, and Japanese, Chinese team. There are a lot of teams and they have their own method of doing it. So I cannot really speak for them. And I'm not sure if I can talk a lot about my process. But so best way of ensuring better QA is I mentioned a lot. It's just time and money, but it's time and money because we do kind of how can I say, we implement kind of simple way of checking the game. So we just play the game a lot. But if you are a gamer, you probably know what debug is. Debug is also just basically D and bug. So you need this tool for finding or fixing the bugs. But players just use it for cheating in games, which I do too. But so that's not something really. It's not bad. It's just it's if you have your hands on debug mode, you can use it. It's not against the law or you stop you from doing it. That's I digress. So basically, we do have our own way of finding each string of lines in terms of text. I'm talking about LQA. So every single line in the game, every single like word or like a very long line has their own ID. So we can it's not always possible, but sometimes we have like debug tool where we can just punch in the ID and check where that text is appearing on the game. So in that when we do it, so we'll see on the screen if that text is appearing in a proper way, right? So, but that still is very time consuming because usually games have more than 30,000 words, right? So that's still very time consuming and very we need a lot of people. So and when we need a lot of people, we need a lot of money. So in terms of how I do, we just kind of like simply just play the game, or we find every single ID of the text and check if these are appearing correctly and properly in the game. When you do FQA, it's a bit different. Then you will need debug in a way that you check every single function is doing what they're supposed to do. So that's I don't want to say the only politically correct word I can use for this process is simple. Like we just simply just play it. So basically, we don't have a very systematic or clever way of finding each bugs or glitches or inconsistencies, because basically we will still have to check the whole game, right? The whole game over and over and over. So yeah, that's how we do. Simple.
Thank you, MJ. It's very interesting when you said one of the way to do the quality control is by playing the game again and again and again. Play it so many times. And I was just wondering if you might have like a job opening for Indonesians to play the game. I think we have so many students would like to get paid to play the games. Well,
I know because I was that student. And I know how that sounds very enticing, but it will get not fun very soon. Okay, I missed that question. So, do you wanna?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe
Can I just
Aulia want to do the open mic, Aulia?
Oh.
Aulia, can you raise hand as well? Sorry. Okay. Okay, Aulia, you can ask the question.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, Miss Angie. I wanna asking about how Sega keeps survive in this game industry when many games companies. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. If you really if you are really into game industry, you probably would know that Sega has closed their arcade in Japan. That's the oldest gaming arcade in Japan, but those are closed. So we are not doing well. I don't see any evidence of they're not doing well. I'm not saying you're asking that question because you thought that way, but I'm just saying, in press we might look like not doing well, but I'm working on games that are not games I worked on was finished. Basically, what Sega is doing is developing their own really good games, right? Like they really want to have their own Sonic and Yakuza. Those are like those games that have fans all over the world. But they also publish that not that's usually one of the things I do too. So they in a way it's reaching global games like well, not Sonic. Sonic was very good, but the game like Yakuza, something like that, is meant to have Japanese, which was an international hit, but still it was meant for audience. So Sega is trying to expand in a global way so that they publish games from other countries like Finland, Sweden, UK, and they have a company in Sega like has a company in Europe, UK, and the United States, I think. Yeah, global as always. Thank you for the question. That's good.
Thank you for the answer, Miss.
Okay, thank you, Aulia. Do you have any? Do you have one more question coming from everyone? I have a question on my own for you that might help our students as well, but I think I will ask it before we close the session. I'm just gonna check if we still have a question from the students. Teman-teman, ada yang mau bertanya lagi? Satu orang lagi. Arfi? Arfi mungkin ada pertanyaan? Nggak ada. Oke, Fandi mungkin? Syahrul? Ada pertanyaan? Arta? Dito atau Eko mungkin? Ini Eko sepertinya gamer ini. Headsetnya udah yang besar gitu ya. Oke, Bu Heidi atau Bu Ratih mungkin ada pertanyaan. Oh, we have one question from Yusufil. Oke, yeah, Yusufil, you can ask the question. Oh ya, nggak apa-apa.
Nggak apa,
Yeah, he will ask in bahasa MJ. I will translate it for you. Silahkan Yusufil.
Ya Ibu, izin bertanya mengenai industri game pada saat pandemi, ini apa yang sangat berpengaruh begitu Bu? Pada saat pandemi, khususnya di industri game, dan bagaimana cara menghadapinya, solusinya gitu. Apa saat ini sudah mulai berkurang dampak yang terjadi gitu, atau bahkan makin memburuk begitu. Namun jika menurut perspektif saya, karena di masa pandemi kita diharuskan selama di rumah begitu ya, jadinya mungkin lebih banyak sih pengguna game begitu. Karena kan untuk bermain game sendiri bisa dilakukan di dalam rumah. Mungkin itu saja Ibu. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Yusufil. MJ, I think you can guess the question. Can you guess it? No?
Just give me the full thing.
Oh, okay. Well, it's actually interesting question. So Yusufil was asking like, how is the game company in the pandemic COVID? Is there any specific changing in the game company, but also in his opinion, he assuming that actually the game company should be okay, like nothing should like change drastically compared to other businesses, because so many people are staying at home and it makes them want to play games, but we don't know, like maybe you have the reality what's happening in the game company.
Yeah, I guess so. In COVID situation, okay, there are several parts of answer that of to this question I can answer. So my nothing's changed. Like what I do has no effect from the COVID, because I could do this like no issues, because I'm already working with international developers and like team members. Oh, well, my team members has like one Japanese, one Taiwanese, and me, and two Japanese. So it's already global, and work is it's not really affected by the COVID situation. But developing side, I have witnessed a lot of game companies like lagging in their process. It has been very slow, and because I am not in, I cannot really say for all the game developing companies, but the partners I have worked with, because they are not working together, it will have to go through, like have to talk to your website, right? So that kind of delays the whole situation. So one of the games I worked on had been delayed in like it had been delayed like for 6 months. So it was really hit by the COVID situation, because I think it's always the communication. So although we do have Zoom and a lot of messengers we can utilize, it's still slower than face-to-face conversation. You will know, like, because you talk to your friends, right? So it's always a bit slower with messengers, and that kind of delays the whole situation, I think. And so the developing process is a bit not bad, it's a lot changed. It's changed a lot, and it has been hit a lot with COVID situation, I think. And when it comes to sales, it's not too bad, but it's worse than you expect, right? Like I would assume that game companies would not be hit as, like, I don't know, tourist companies. Of course, we are not hit that much, but it's still worse than you'd expect, because people do not go out to buy the package. Like, people don't buy the CDs or packages. They just want to buy the downloadable game, like digital ones. So in that corner, we have lost a lot of sales, I think. But this is from a sales team. So sorry, that's. Sorry, did I miss a lot? So, what was I saying? Yeah, so I have heard from sales team that they have lost a lot of sales because people don't buy physical copies anymore. Like, they only buy the downloadable versions. So, yep, it's not too bad, but it's worse than you'd expect.
Okay, thank you MJ. I will just translate a bit for
Mhm.
Yusufil, untuk Yusufil dan teman-teman ya. Jadi memang dari segi salesnya tidak terlalu terpengaruhi ya selama masa COVID, karena orang lebih ke arah membeli file yang sifatnya itu download daripada yang fisik. Tapi memang dari segi production proses ya teman-teman, yang cukup tertunda dari segi komunikasi dan juga dari segi dari segi komunikasi, dan juga kalau dari MJ cerita ketika proses face to face dan juga proses bertemu langsung itu memang berbeda ya teman-teman ya, kecepatannya. Seperti itu Yusufil dan teman-teman. Okay, we have one more student asking question. I think, okay, Mukadar, can you turn on your video? Mukadar bisa dinyalakan videonya? Atau mau langsung? Oke. I would like to introduce you to one of interesting student we have because the hair is like super super authentic. Oke, Mukadar, silakan mau bertanya.
Okay. Hi, Miss Minji. My question is, well, to be honest, I really like Sega. I think Sega is like one of the biggest game developers of all time. I really love how you guys develop games like Yakuza, the Yakuza series and the Persona series. I mean, both of those games you're like exporting Japanese culture outside, right? Now, in the game industry right now, there's a lot of crunch culture, working overtime to meet demands and targets. And I've had crunch culture itself is made because of this pandemic that is going on right now. My question is crunch culture a good thing for the game industry? And also, is crunch culture going to affect quality assurance in games, especially in Sega?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. And I do like your hair. It's amazing. It is.
Thank you very much.
And I will tell our colleagues about how you like our Yakuza and Persona series. The Persona
I
is
really love
literally
Yakuza series.
the reason I joined Sega. Yakuza is always the best. I know. Anyway, to answer your question, so crunch culture is a like a hot potato, right? Everyone's talking about it, and it's really it's affecting the whole culture. It is. So I'll give you my frank opinion about the culture and then how you guys doing it. So frankly, I don't like it on it, and I would like more time, like so that we have like more days we the game so that we don't have to work until like 3 o'clock in the morning. We don't want that. Like as a worker, I would need to work until like morning. I do. I have to. So company and in terms of COVID situation, yes, people do crunch more because they work at home and because they don't have to go back home. So their superiors will expect them to work. Like, you are at home. Like, what's the problem? Just with like 2 more hours, and like people just do it. That's too out, and will be tired to work like long. Like they will not work for 4 years because they will be too tired. So my frank opinion is I do not like the crunch culture, and that's not a healthy way of fixing the whole thing. When we can just have like more days to work on. That's always better. But if you want to have more days to work, it's just not time. That will cost more money because you will have to pay them more for more days you allocate to the project. So QA is always in terms of like financial issues. People don't really like QAs because we tend to expect more time and more money because we do a lot of work. So in terms of Sega, this I can proudly say that Sega is not one of the game companies that force crunch culture. That I can say. We are kind of proud in a way that we don't force crunch for people. But people, this may sound very obnoxious, but people just tend to just do it. You don't do crunch. Like you work from like 9 to 6 or 10 to 7, and go home. And people will just like, you know what, I'm at home, I'm just going to work on it a bit more. And that happens. So sometimes it's voluntary crunch, which I still don't like. I want to go home at 7. I want to go play my game. I want to go to sleep, and yeah. But the thing is, the crunch part will inevitably happen, even if you do not encourage it. That has been the way it was. Like the crunch will always happen, and I think the healthier thing to do as a company is to let the workers, employees know that you don't have to do it, and if you cannot meet the deadline, we will be able to help in terms of time or money. I think that's the healthiest thing a company can do, and the employees should be able to say like, no, I don't want to do crunch. I want to go home. I want to go. That's the safe conclusion that I can derive from my experience. Yeah.
Thank you, MJ. Mukadar, is the answer satisfy you? I'm so sorry for the loud noises in here. Can you hear it, MJ? You know,
Yeah, sometimes.
yeah. So I'm actually in a coffee shop in a mall, and then there's this bunch of older people having some exercise with this very loud, outbeat music. So
Yeah, it's okay. I understand.
okay, so I think we don't have any question anymore from the students. Actually, for the closing, before we end this session, I have one question that might help the students for future prospect. So for anyone in here, for the students who might be interested or thinking about having a career in the game company or even in the quality assurance, particularly, like what kind of character and competence do you think the students need to be able to have, to be able to get in the career that you are having right now?
Okay, that's a really good question. Considering I have an interview next week, so that's current with me. So the quality I look for when I interview people will first be always be teamwork. Like you will have to be willing to work with others, and this is you hear this like everywhere, and I heard it when I was in university, but this is a bit more important than you would expect. Like your superiors will be able to tell if you are this kind of teamwork on you, or are actually willing to work as a team member. Like it's a bit visible when you interview people. So the first thing I would always just recommend when I interview people will be, you will have to be able to work as a team gladly. Like it shouldn't be forced on you. That's the most important thing. And for me, although this is a bit specific for me, because I work in linguistic QA, language is always better to kind of like shine, like it will help you shine through. And I know this is my job, and I do linguistic things. So for me, three languages is not it's not really surprising to have. I'm sorry, but because we are in a global kind of like climate of industry, it will be important for you to be able to speak at least 2 languages, preferably like English. But if you do not, if you don't speak English, there will always be another person who can speak English. So try to have another language, whatever you can, to kind of like make it your own. So one of my colleagues can speak Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese and Japanese. He doesn't speak English, but he can speak those three, so he will be able to communicate to a Japanese person who can speak English, and he will be able to talk to other people. So try to, I mean, having another language that you can speak is always better. Other than that, it's just not that. I think it's for game companies, it's always better to be able to enjoy games. Like, we do look for that in people. Like, if you do like game, if you don't like your playing games, like we would say, like, we have other people we can hire other than you. So yeah, being able to enjoy games is actually really important. So yeah, those three will be the most important for me. Yep.
Okay, thank you, MJ. So I think it's very interesting that you mentioned the first competence and character that the game company needs is actually people who are willing to work with others. Meanwhile, those gamers who likes to play game, usually they don't like to talk to other people. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's just, I find it very interesting. Jadi untuk teman-teman ya, tadi ada beberapa pesan dari MJ, kalau teman-teman ingin masuk ke nanti ke depannya mengejar dunia game company atau mungkin ingin terjun di dunia quality assurance ya. Yang pertama, bisa bekerja sama dengan orang lain, kemudian menguasai 2 bahasa minimal. Kalau memang sudah kuat bahasa Inggrisnya, ditambah lagi 2 bahasa lain, karena saat ini sudah banyak sekali ya orang yang bisa berbahasa Inggris. Jadi kalau teman-teman bisa, tadi kalau dari MJ contohnya ada yang bisa berbahasa Mandarin, atau mungkin teman-teman mau belajar bahasa Jepang, bahasa Korea, bahasa Prancis, bisa basicnya dari bahasa PBB juga ya teman-teman ya. Itu bisa dikuatkan dari sekarang teman-teman, niat dan latihannya. Jadi itu pesan dari MJ ya untuk teman-teman yang ingin terjun di dunia company, game, dan juga quality assurance. Okay, MJ, I think we can call it a day for today. We have such a nice class with you. We're very thankful and grateful. Hopefully we can invite you in the future, like on an offline class, so you get to meet the students directly and also have interaction with you. And once again, we're sorry if there is any words or anything that it's just not appropriate or something. It's not our intention at all. And thank you so much for your time, MJ. And thank you so much.
Yeah.
Before we close this, I think we are going to take a picture together.
Okay.
Teman-teman bisa dibuka ininya ya, videonya. Kita akan foto bersama. Oke, Bu Ratih, apa bisa dibantu Bu Ratih? Apakah ada Bu Ratih di sini? Oke, sambil Oke, teman-teman, sambil saya foto, kita semua bisa bilang kamsahamnida. I was just telling the students while we're like taking the pictures, everyone can open the microphone and just say kamsahamnida, MJ.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Kamsahamnida.
Oh my God, guys, this is so nice.
Kamsahamnida.
Kamsahamnida.
Oh my God. Guys, this is so nice. This is so heartwarming. I really like talking to you guys. So nice. And Fanny, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. This was great. I would love to do this again. Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Actually, thank you. I'm just gonna take one more picture for the very last slide. Sorry, we have so many slides of students here. Okay. Thank you so much, MJ. We will talk to you again hopefully soon. And have a nice weekend, MJ. Have a nice weekend, everyone. We are officially closing this class. Agininda, say hi to your cat. Okay, have a nice day, everyone.
Hi, cat.
Saya akhiri ya, teman-teman ya, kelas sore hari ini. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, MJ. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Afternoon. Please bring new Valkyria Chronicles. Waiting for it. Like seriously.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
MJ. Thank you.